We live in interesting times. For the headlines. U.S. President Donald Trump reveals his summit with Kim Jong-un, the first ever between a sitting U.S. president and a North Korean leader, will take place in Singapore on June 12. Malaysia's king agrees to pardon Anwar Ibrahim immediately. The country's new prime minister says, paving the way for the jailed leader to return to politics and potentially become premier. And scientists are warning that a Hawaii volcano that has been oozing lava and burping steam for days may be gearing up for a huge eruption, prompting the closure of Volcanoes National Park. The World Health Organization said it was preparing for, quote, the worst-case scenario in a fresh outbreak of Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles. Welcome to the program, and now to the news. First off, to the crisis in the Middle East. Unprecedented clashes between Israel and Iran over Syria have sparked calls for restraint from world leaders worried about the risk of all-out war, even as both sides say they want to avoid a regional conflict. Now, Israel carried out widespread deadly raids against what it said were Iranian targets in Syria in response to rocket fire towards its forces that it blamed on Iran. The reported exchange of fire came after weeks of rising tensions and followed U.S. President Trump's decision to withdraw from the landmark 2015 Iran nuclear deal, a move Israel had long sought.
The question remains, what are Iranian troops doing 1,600 kilometers away from Iran, and what is their purpose here? We understand that their purpose is a hostile one. They are trying to attack Israel, and we have said it very clearly that we will not tolerate an Iranian military presence in Syria that is capable of and trying to strike Israeli targets and terrorize Israeli civilians. They are masters at getting others to do their dirty work for them. This was the first time that the Iranians actually engaged Israel directly. And I think that at the end of the day, when the Iranians will assess their own casualties and the damage inflicted, they should think twice about doing this again.
The bombardment led to calls for calm from Russia, France, Germany, and Britain, and the European Union, while the United States put the blame squarely on Iran and stressed Israel's right to self-defense. Germany and Britain joined the U.S. in denouncing the rocket fire towards the Israel-occupied Golan Heights they also said was carried out by Iran, while France reiterated its unwavering support for Israel's security. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Iran had crossed a red line and that the resulting bombardment against targets in Syria was a consequence.
אנחנו נמצאים במערכה ממושכת, המדיניות שלנו ברורה. לא ניתן לאיראן להתבסס צבאית בסוריה. אתמול העברתי מסר ברור למשטר אסד. הפעולה שלנו מכוונת נגד מטרות איראניות בסוריה. אבל אם הצבא הסורי יפעל נגדנו, אנחנו נפעל נגדו.
Meanwhile, Iran's President Hassan Rouhani told German Chancellor Angela Merkel in a telephone call that he did not want new tensions in the Middle East. He said, quote, Iran has always sought to reduce tensions in the region, trying to strengthen security and stability. Meanwhile, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres appealed for an immediate halt to all hostile acts in a statement. He urged the Security Council to remain actively aware of the situation and shoulder its responsibilities under the UN Charter. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov was also quick to call for restraint. He said the Israeli raids were very alarming development and called on both Israel and Iran to avoid provoking each other.
Что касается эскалации между Израилем и Ираном, мы считаем, что это весьма тревожная тенденция. исходим из того, что все вопросы нужно решать через диалог.
Israel had been preparing itself for weeks for possible Iranian retaliation. U.S. President Trump's withdrawal from the nuclear deal has added to tensions and led to a new level of uncertainty over how Iran will respond. At a rally in Indiana on Thursday, President Trump said he still wanted intrusive inspections of Iran's nuclear sites to continue despite his decision to withdraw from the pact.
Kim Jong-un.
In the Philippines, the Supreme Court voted 8-6 May 11 Friday to oust Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno. In a landmark decision, the country's highest court granted the quo warranto petition of Solicitor General Jose Calida to invalidate the appointment of Sereno as Chief Justice. Erwin Temperante has more.
Chief Magistrate ousted from her post after the majority of Supreme Court justices favored the quo warranto petition filed by Solicitor General Jose Calida against Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno. Member of the court voted who grant the said petition are Associate Justice Teresita De Castro, Diosdado Peralta, Lucas Bersamin, Samuel Martires, Noel Tiham, Andres Reyes, Alexander Gesmundo, and Francis Hardelesa. Supreme Court spokesperson Attorney Chudorte says that the quo warranto petition were granted and the respondent Sereno were found disqualified and guilty of unlawfully holding and exercising the office of the Chief Justice.
Wherefore, the petition for quo warranto is granted. Respondent Maria Lourdes P.A. Sereno is found disqualified from and is hereby adjudged guilty of unlawfully holding and exercising the office of the Chief Justice.
Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio, Associate Justice Presbiterio Velasco, Mariano del Castillo, Estela Perlas Bernabe, Marvic Leonen, and Alfredo Benjamin Cagiwa are in favor for the dismissal of the quo warranto petition. Sereno went to the stage of her supporters moments after Attorney Chudorte finished the press briefing. Supporters of Sereno wearing white shirts staged their protest early this morning along Taft Avenue in Manila.
Kayang tanggalin ng barkadahan ang sinuman sa anumang rason, basta nasa kanila ang sapat na boto. Ganoon na nga po ang nangyari. Tahasang naging tagahusga ang 6 na mahistrado na bahagi ng mga taga-akusa sa akin.
Sereno's camp is given 10 days from the receipt to show cause why she should not be sanctioned for violating the conduct of professional responsibility and the Code of Judicial Conduct for transgressing the sub judice rule and for casting aspersion and ill motives to the members of the Supreme Court. The position of Chief Justice were declared vacant and the Judicial and Bar Council were directed to commence the application and nomination process. For Eagle News, Erwin Temperante. I'm one with 25.
To the U.S. now, President Trump tweets that his historic summit with North Korea leader Kim Jong-un will take place in Singapore on June 12. The location and date of the landmark meeting, the first ever between a sitting U.S. president and a North Korean leader, were announced by presidential tweet just hours after North Korea released 3 American prisoners. Take a look. President Trump confirmed the first details of the summit through a tweet on Thursday, saying the highly anticipated meeting between Kim Jong-un and myself will take place in Singapore on June 12. We will both try to make it a very special moment for world peace. Meanwhile, Singaporean Prime Minister replied to his tweet and said the meeting between U.S. President @real Donald Trump, North Korea leader Kim Jong-un is a significant step on the path to peace. May it lead to a successful outcome. Meanwhile, U.S. President Trump at a rally in Indiana also revealed his historic summit with Kim Jong-un, the first ever between a sitting U.S. president and North Korean leader, that will take place in Singapore on June 12. The location and date of the landmark meeting were announced by President Trump during the rally. Take a listen.
And on June 12th, in Singapore, I'll be meeting with Kim Jong-un to pursue a future of peace and security for the world, for the whole world. Hopefully, something very good is going to happen, and they understand it's very important for them, it's important for everybody. So Japan, South Korea, China, everybody, I think it's going to be a very big success.
U.S. officials said the release of Americans Kim Hak-song, Tony Kim, and Kim Dong-chul removed a major obstacle to the summit, providing President Trump with some tangible evidence that his twin-track policy of engagement and maximum pressure was working.
And I think that Kim Jong-un did a great service to himself, to his country by doing this. But those hostages came out with respect. We didn't pay for them. We're going to set the table. We're going to make a great deal for the world, for North Korea, for South Korea, for Japan, for China.
With one foot in the east and one in the west, ultra modern and secure to the point of sometimes being mocked as dull, Singapore was a natural choice for the historic first meeting between the unpredictable leaders of the U.S. and North Korea. The stable and squeaky clean city-state's tropical setting will be the backdrop for the June 12 summit between President Trump and Kim Jong-un, the first between a sitting U.S. president and a North Korean leader. Now, analysts have commented. Take a listen.
And I think that Singapore is a global hub, highly respected. It's a first world economy. It is at the crossroads of the East and West, and therefore signifies progression and signifies all things possible. As compared to a site like Panmunjom in the DMZ, which was, I think, a close candidate, that would have been a good site for its own reasons. But I think looking back now, that's also a site that reminds people of all the past failures and historical baggage that comes along with this long-standing crisis. So Singapore really marks a fresh start, and it's neutral ground. I think if North Korea can show that it's willing to play ball and to work along some kind of process, according to some kind of roadmap or timeline, then I think that would be a marker of success for the summit. So I think the Americans also have to manage their expectations and not fool themselves into thinking that this long-standing problem and the series of failures we've seen in the past, taking those things into account, that overnight essentially that an agreement can be struck, and the North Koreans are simply going to dismantle everything over the next few weeks or next few months. That's not going to happen.
I think the most important significance that the talk is showing the region and perhaps the world is that peace is achievable. And what has been unthinkable in the past is achievable, and diplomacy